Flow state management. Get in the zone. This is a relatively new concept, been around 5-6 years I think. It's a really good one when you think about productivity and getting the maximum out of your team. So let's get into this flow state. Find your flow state. It's an interesting concept once you understand what it truly is. So let me help you find your flow state, because you've had it before, you're doing it, and you're probably not conscious that you're doing it. So let's have a deeper understanding of what you're actually doing so you can get into flow state more often. The flow state. Flow state is a mental state of mind in which you are pulled forward by big goals, yet happy where you are now. It creates a feeling of growth and a feeling of being lucky. It's being in that zone, in that immense state. And you probably had this where you've noticed a couple of hours just disappeared. Wow, where'd that last 2 hours go? You're in flow state because you're doing what you love, you're in the zone, working towards that big goal, and you're in that happy place and you're enjoying what you're doing. That's flow state. So there's 4 states. First state is with struggle phase. Struggle is when you're not feeling good. Perhaps you're unwilling to challenge yourself and where you're at. And then phase 2, when you accept that the struggle is real and you take on the challenge. This is where your brain converts from conscious thought to subconscious processing. Because like riding a bike, you don't think about riding a bike or brushing your teeth, but you're in that unconscious stage. So moving from conscious to subconscious. And then the flow state can kick in. This is where, like an athlete's in the zone. They're on fire. They can do anything. It's insanely productive when you're in that flow state. So you know you're aware of it. So you rewire your brain and your memory of how you're going to get into that flow state. Because flow state is such an important part of being more productive. So you remember everything that happened during your peak performance, and you see that there's new possibilities. You can stretch yourself, go to a consolidated memory phase of this is where I can get to. Very exciting when you get to that point. The key to productivity is tapping into your flow state. And Serena Williams, one of the all-time great tennis players, if you keep playing tennis when somebody is shooting a gun down the street, that's concentration and ultimately being in flow. That's why flow state is such a great thing. So let's look at how to get into flow state. We just talked through the four steps. Let's look at going a little bit simpler and deeper. So the matrix of flow state is also worth considering too, because before we get into going deeper, your abilities versus your challenges. So your worry versus anxiety versus your apathy versus your arousal and boredom states, through to flow, control, relaxation. So we can be relaxed. That's one thing. But to get in the flow is not to be relaxed, it's to be intent in what you're doing and be in control and happy and focused on what you're doing. So it's really cool. So as promised, the steps to achieving flow state. All right, you got to have a clear goal. There is a greater inner clarity and you know what needs to be done when you have a clear goal. 2, strong concentration and focused attention. You are completely involved in what you are doing. 3, the loss of the feeling or self-consciousness, a feeling that you're going beyond your comfort zone. 4, distort sense of time. You lose track of time and you're completely focused on the present moment. You're in the zone. Immediate feedback. You get an immediate result in how well you're doing. Okay? And when you go from there, you go into the balance between skill level and challenge. From your skill capabilities into the feasible reality that you can take your skills further and really be successful at this task. It's mastery almost. You're just repetitive, unconscious behavior. Personal control over the situation. There is an essential motivation. Whatever produces flow becomes its own reward. So you actually get to see what rewards you get for being in the zone. Absorption, you lose your sense of self and all your worries and concerns drift away because you're not thinking about yesterday or the past or the future. You're in that state of mind where you're in the present moment, focused, happy, really loving what you're doing. It's an enjoyable feeling, and I think it's something you really get a lot of benefit out of. Flow state. This video is just a little snippet. Certainly do your own research, do Google and look at it. Have a chat to your coach, because I love trying to be aware of when I've been in flow state and setting my goals and my challenges higher and higher and being more and more focused because there's no greater sense of achievement in finishing a day or a week saying, hey, I was in and out of that week, but geez, I achieved a lot for the week because I was in the zone more often than not. All right, hope this helps. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great, challenge in getting into that flow state. Thank you.